Hello students, today we will talk about three common features in every cell. First is plasma membrane, it is found in every cell. Then comes nucleus, it is also found in every cell. In some cells it may be well developed, in the others it may not be very well developed. If the nucleus is well developed, such cell is called eukaryotic cell, and if the nucleus is not well developed, it is called prokaryotic cell. And third feature that is common in every cell is the presence of cytoplasm. Every cell has a cytoplasm. One by one, we will discuss all these common features. We will start with plasma membrane. Plasma membrane is the outermost covering of the cell, except in the case of plant cell, fungi cell, and some bacterial cells, because they have the outermost covering in such cells are cell wall. Cell wall we will discuss little bit later. But in all other cells, the outermost covering is plasma membrane. Plasma membrane separates the contents of the cell from its external environment. Here you can see a diagram of cell. This is a cell, and the blue outline that is there is plasma membrane, and it is surrounded by an external environment. The inner to plasma membrane are present contents of the cell. So from this diagram, you can see that the plasma membrane is separating the contents of the cell from the external environment. If plasma membrane is not there, then the contents of the cell, they will flow out into the external environment. There will not be any cell. So for the presence of plasma membrane is essential. Next point related to plasma membrane is that plasma membrane permits or prevents. It can do both. It can permit entry or exit of some materials, and it can also prevent the entry or exit of some other materials. So here you can see some materials are entering in the cell, some materials are getting out of the cell, exiting the cell. For these two actions to take place, plasma membrane regulation is required. Plasma membrane selects which substances can enter and which substances can leave the cell. Because of this, because the plasma membrane is selecting what will enter inside the cell, what will not enter inside the cell, or what will exit the cell, what will not exit the cell, because of this, it is called selectively permeable membrane, because it is selecting what will enter or exit the cell. So such membrane is called selectively permeable membrane. Here, these points we have discussed about plasma membrane. Now, few other topics related to plasma membrane only are the movement of substances. Just now we were talking about that plasma membrane can permit or it can prevent the entry or exit of substances in and out of the cell. So here they have taken example of here, carbon dioxide and oxygen. How carbon dioxide and oxygen, they move inside the cell or they move out of the cell. What is the mechanism? What is the process by which they show such movement? This process is called diffusion. The process by which these substances like carbon dioxide and oxygen, they move inside the cell or outside the cell, such process is called diffusion. This is the definition of diffusion: spontaneous movement of substances from a region of high concentration to a region of lower concentration. So movement of substances from their higher concentration to their lower concentration is called diffusion. And these two gases, they follow this rule. They move from their higher concentration to where their concentration is low. Both carbon dioxide and oxygen will follow this rule. So they show diffusion. Here we'll try to understand the meaning of concentration, higher concentration, lower concentration. Here you can see that we have taken two solutions. Solution is made up of, it is prepared by mixing solute into solvent. We can have any solute, we can have any solvent, and depending on their nature, there will be mixing of solute in the solvent and solution will be prepared. You can see that in solution A, we have taken water as a solvent and sugar as a solute. And solution B also, same things we have taken, water as solvent and sugar as solute. Right? So what is the difference? If solute and solvent are same in solution A and B, what is the difference between these two solutions? The difference is in the amount of solute particles. You can see in solution A, solute particles are more. In solution B, solute particles are less. Right? So here concentration of solute particle is more, where concentration of solute particles is less. So solution A is more concentrated and solution B is less concentrated as compared to solution A. Now, if somebody asks us that what is the concentration of water, where the concentration of water is more in solution A or in solution B, let's try to understand what is the meaning of concentration of water here. We are not talking about the total amount of water, because the total amount of water, you can see the level. The total amount of water is same in both the solutions. So how these two words, amount of water and concentration of water, different from each other? How are these two words different? Amount of water and concentration of water. We try to understand amount of water is same in both the solutions, but concentration is not. Here the concentration of water is different from what is the concentration of water in this beaker. Here we will calculate the free water molecules. Free water molecules are free to move from one place to another. When we mix sugar in the water, sugar will form bond with water. It will interact with water and that water will be bonded to sugar. That will not be free to move. So here, because solute particles are more, it will bind with more water molecules. Here solute particles are less, so they will bind with less water molecules. Here, in other words, we can say that free water molecules are more in solution B as compared to solution A. In solution A, 988 molecules are free water molecules. In solution B, 996 water molecules are free. So, water concentration is more in solution B as compared to solution A. So, the higher concentration of water is present in beaker B as compared to in beaker A. So, that's how we can find out where the concentration is more and where the concentration is less. And after finding out, we can tell the direction of diffusion also. Because diffusion always takes place from higher concentration to lower concentration. Every molecule, every substance, it will move from its higher concentration to its lower concentration. This we have to keep in mind, right? And this is diffusion. In case of carbon dioxide and oxygen, we call diffusion as diffusion only. But if we take water, the diffusion of water across a semi-permeable membrane is not called diffusion, it is called osmosis. I am repeating this because this is important. The movement of water from its higher concentration to its lower concentration across a selectively permeable membrane is called osmosis. So this you have to keep in mind, that what is osmosis, what is diffusion. And on the basis of what we have learned till now regarding concentration, we can answer these questions. We can answer the direction of movement of water. What will be the direction of movement of water from from the external environment, that is beaker in this case, to the cell, or from cell to the beaker, right? We just have to look at the concentration of water, where the concentration of water is more and where the concentration of water is less. We will not look at the total amount of water. We will only look at the free water number of free water molecules. Here you can see number of free water molecules is more as compared to here. Here number of free water molecules is less. If you get confused by the overall amount of water, you may think that beaker is very large and cell is very small. The cell must contain very small amount of water, very less amount of water as compared to beaker. So water should always enter from beaker to cell. But that is not the case because it is close to impossible to take one cell and put it in the beaker. So we have taken one cell only for the sake of understanding the concept. One cell will not be present here. Many cells will be present in the beaker. Right? So don't get confused by that one cell will have very less water and beaker will always have more water concentration as compared to cell. That is not the case. We have shown only one cell only for the sake of understanding the concept. There will be many cells in the beaker, many animal cells. Right? So here according to the concentration concept, the water will move from its higher concentration to its lower concentration. It will come out of the cell and cell will shrink. Such type of solution in which when we put animal cell and it shrinks is called hypertonic solution. The concentration of solution is more outside the cell as compared to inside the cell. Hyper means more. Outside the cell, the concentration is more. Similarly, we can see the hypotonic solution also. It is the reverse of the first case. Here, more free water molecules are present in the beaker, less free water molecules are present in the cell. So, water will move from the beaker into the cell. So, water will enter inside the cell. So, in hypotonic solution, water enters inside the cell, and if water enters inside the cell, then cell will swell up. There will be increase in the size of the cell. Just like when we fill air or water in a balloon, the balloon also swells up. So, in the same way, when we'll add water in a cell, cell will also swell up. So this is hypertonic solution, and I have not drawn the diagram of isotonic solution because if you have understood hypotonic and hypertonic solution concept, then you can easily draw diagram of isotonic solution. So that is going to be your homework. Now we'll discuss few examples of this case where the water leaves the cell. It goes out of the cell and the cell shrinks. When we wash clothes, we dip our hands in detergent water. We take water and then we add lot of detergent in. So that is a hypertonic solution. And when we put our hand, which is made up of animal cells, in such water, what happens? Our hands, our skin, the cells of our skin, they shrink. All of us must have observed this, that there is shrinkage of cells when we wash clothes in detergent water. So that is example of shrinkage of cell in hypertonic solution. Then comes the effect on the effect of putting a cell in hypertonic solution. If we take a plant cell here and we put plant cell in hypertonic solution, then the cell will swell up. Like when we cook rajma in our homes, we soak it overnight. And next morning, when we look at the rajma, the size of the rajma is increased. It looks like that the rajma or kidney bean, it has swelled up. So that is the effect of hypotonic solution on the plant cell. Right? So that shows the diffusion, or here because the diffusion is taking place across a semi-permeable membrane or selectively permeable membrane, such diffusion is called osmosis. Movement of water from its higher concentration to its lower concentration across a selectively permeable membrane is called osmosis. So whatever we are discussing, it is because of osmosis. It is because of movement of water inside the cell or outside the cell. So this is related to plasma membrane. Now few features of plasma membrane. Here you can see that the first feature is that plasma membrane is flexible in nature. If you want to understand the flexibility of plasma membrane, you can look at the structure of amoeba. Amoeba can change its shape, pseudopodia, because it is made up of plasma membrane. Next point is plasma membrane is made up of organic molecules called lipids and proteins. So all of us know about proteins and fats. Fats are known as lipids. So we know we are familiar with these two organic molecules, and a plasma membrane is made up of these lipids and proteins. Third point related to plasma membrane is that the structure of plasma membrane can be observed only through an electron microscope. If you try to observe plasma membrane under a compound microscope, that cannot be done. We can observe the structure of plasma membrane only through an electron microscope. So this was about plasma membrane. And one last concept related to plasma membrane is endocytosis. Endocytosis. Endo means inside, cyto means cell. So endocytosis is the process of entry of substances from outside the cell to the inside of the cell. Here I have shown the example of amoeba because most of you must have studied the uptake of food particle by amoeba. So that is an example of endocytosis. When any substance enters inside the cell, this process is known as endocytosis, and this is done with the help of plasma membrane. So with this we cover our topic of plasma membrane, and in the next video we will talk about cell wall. So this much related to plasma membrane. Thank you.